Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm back again for another vlog, well, kind of vlog. So recently I've actually competed in a scholarship event with BPC Tuning to win a Citroen C1 fully funded season. Yeah, it was quite interesting to say the least. It was a very good experience. I actually used the helmet visor cam on my new helmet throughout the test sessions that I did. I actually did a half-day practice the day before on the Wednesday, and then the Thursday was the scholarship day. So I got judged on my physical assessment, I got judged on my media skills, and then also finally I got judged on my driving skills, obviously. So we did two sessions on the Thursday, which were judged by a driver coach. So yeah, we're just going to jump straight into the Wednesday session though, where I first jumped out with a driver coach, and then I actually ended up going in a car on my own around Blyton Park. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it and see how it went then. So here we go for the first session, and as you can see, just jumping in the race car now. Obviously, like I said, I have the driver coach next to me, a guy called Josh, who is actually a Ginetta GT4 race winner, so quite an experienced guy to be coaching me today. As you can see, we're literally about to go on track here, thanks to Pierre for recording the trackside camera. When we cut back to the visor camera, you will notice it steams up a little bit and gets a bit foggy. It does clear up as the session goes on, so yeah, as you can see there, it's a little bit foggy, but like I said, it will clear up pretty quickly. You saw there as well, we had to stop a little bit, so there is a red light system, and when the red light goes green, then we're allowed to go on track. If it's red, we have to just stay there until it goes green. So yeah, nevertheless, so we're out on track, and as you will see as we cut to the next clip a few laps later, it does clear up quite nicely. This is my first time in a Citroen C1 race car, so I knew it was going to be quite tricky, especially with the wet and slippery track conditions. And as you can see, I go straight around on the first couple laps, which isn't ideal. All I can do though is try and listen to Josh's advice, see if I can take it on board and avoid that happening again. And this is the advice he actually gives me.
As soon as you see the rear end go, just park the throttle.
Alright. So he said as soon as you feel the rear end go, it hard on the fall. So when a couple laps later I actually end up in that predicament again, I actually do that and actually manage to save it and do a massive power slide. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that nevertheless, and really learnt that you can catch a car if you just hard on the throttle. You can't be like risky and try and release the throttle or hit the brakes, as it will easily go around just like you saw in the first clip. So you just need to slam on the throttle because obviously it's front wheel drive and you will be able to correct it. Nevertheless, so the session was a really good opportunity to try and learn the ropes and get to know Josh a little bit and try and, well, basically take advice from him as much as possible before I go out on my own. But yeah, that was pretty much the end of the session, as we basically followed around, just completing the final few laps. Didn't really do a lot of interesting moments in this one, really, apart from that one spin and that one power slide. Really, we were just basically trying to take the racing line, see what lines we could do, what were best, and try and drive this C1 for the first time, and especially in wet conditions. But now we head back into the pits then, and we will try and pick Josh's brains a bit more for advice and tips just after he's just watched me in that session. But yeah, I guess now we will head back into the pit lane area and get ready to go out on my own in the other C1 car now. So here we go then. As you can see, I'm just about to jump into the team spare car, and I'm going out on my own. This is only for a little shakedown, so it's only like 3 laps, but I will be going back out again a bit later on in this car. So I was literally just getting myself in, getting myself strapped in just to get ready to go out. Yeah, it was quite an interesting experience going out on my own. I was a little bit nervous because obviously I'd never been out in a C1 car before today, and now I'm literally going out on my own. So yeah, obviously it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but nevertheless I was up for it, and I was super excited to get back out on track once again. So yeah, just coming around to go towards the exit of the pit lane to go back out on track. As you can see, as the camera's a little bit more clearer this time around, you can actually see the little red light, and you'll see that in a minute it will actually change to green, and that's when I put the handbrake down, put it in first gear and go for it. So yeah, here we go then for my second session. Obviously, like I said, this one's only like a little shakedown and kind of little tester for 3 laps. But nevertheless, so it was quite an interesting session. Definitely think I learnt still quite a lot more, especially being out on my own to try and learn from what Josh was telling me from last session. Yeah, that curb there was very tricky, to be honest, because throughout this day I kept running it very aggressively, because I just kept understeering a little bit into it. But on the next day you'll see that I kind of improved and stopped running it as much. Through here I run the curbs quite aggressively because I was told to, so yeah, I was really pushing as much as I could through here. As you can see, running the car out as wide as possible down towards a very fast straight line now towards a very slow speed chicane. You hit just about 80 here, so you do have to watch out. I probably didn't quite hit 80 that time round, but when you really push it you do just quite hit 80, so yeah, it's quite interesting to say the least, especially that we were actually in third gear the whole way round. That's actually the best gear to be in throughout this whole track, so yeah, very interesting to say the least. Definitely think I learned a lot more as well, being out on my own, but nevertheless we head back into the pits after completing our 3 laps on our own. And now we will try and reverse it back towards the awning space.
Yeah, don't do anything unnecessary stuff.
So here we go for another session then, as the green light goes on straight away then, and we head back on track once again. This session was quite interesting. Sadly it was my last session on record as well, just for the fact that my visor cam decided to run out of space and run out of charge literally as I was coming into the pit lane of this session, so I apologise about that, but nevertheless so I got this session on record, the whole session, which is quite a long one, so I'll take that nevertheless. As you can see then, it had dried up quite a bit, so I was pretty happy about that, as I could try and push it a little bit more. I still couldn't take that final corner very well, but you know, this is what this day's for. It's meant for practice, so I kept trying my best, seeing what I could do with it. This corner was pretty decent actually. I quite like this one, especially on the actual scholarship day. I found it a lot more better in the dry conditions and managed to get the car turned a bit better around that corner. But nevertheless so, like I said, it's my first ever time in a C1 race car, and also it was in very slippery and wet conditions, so I knew I wasn't expecting much. As we come around then up towards turn 2 section, and then the cheeky fast right left chicane section onto the back straight, I quite like that chicane very nicely actually. You really got to run the curb and it really bounces you around everywhere, so you got to watch out a little bit that you don't run it too much here and scrape the floor, but nevertheless so we carried on very nicely. And this session is about to get a whole lot more interesting, because as you see it's pretty dry at the moment, it's not exactly wet, but then we actually cut to a few laps later in a minute, and you'll actually see it's getting a lot more wetter now. So I actually try and use the windscreen wipers coming out of this chicane here, and as you'll see, as I try and use them, the windshield wipers actually come unloose and actually, well, become jammed, so I couldn't actually use them anymore. And obviously with the rain starting to come down, that's going to be a massive issue. So I tried to make sure I brought it nice and slowly back into the pits and try not to damage it, which is, well, you know, obviously I don't want to damage it because it's not my car. So yeah, nevertheless so, a bit of a interesting moment to happen, and luckily I reacted pretty well and didn't actually completely full send it in towards the rest of this lap, in towards the pits. But nevertheless so, we will try and dive back into the pits and get it repaired, and try and get back out on track straight away again, because we got enough fuel for it and nothing's really happened to stop us from carrying on. We just quickly need to make a quick pit stop, get it repaired, and then we can get going again. As you can see, I was trying to point it out to Peter. I don't know if he realised or not from the track side, but yeah, nevertheless, so made it back into the pits just as it really started coming down a bit more. So if I stayed out for any longer, I definitely wouldn't be able to see going around the track. But nevertheless, so made it back into the pits safely, and we will get the windshield wiper repaired, as you can see, with some of the mechanics rushing over now. The windscreen wiper, yeah. Can I? Am I allowed to go back out? Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. So we head back out on track after a cheeky little pit stop then. Got the windshield wipers clipped back in. As you can see, definitely would have needed them because it is coming down a lot more now. So yeah, I will put the windshield wipers on. And I kind of underestimated how much it actually rained and how slippery the track got whilst I was getting the windshield wiper clip back in, because I came into the chicane for the first time, completely slipped off the track and cut the grass. So yeah, I've upgraded from cutting grass to cutting grass in C1, so give me a call if you need any grass services. But nevertheless, we carried on though. The car was undamaged, so I'll take that, as we got a bit of a trackside camera angle from Peter here, coming around the final two corners. As you can see, I was starting to slowly get better at that final corner there, even in the wet, as I wasn't completely running over that final curb. So yeah, improvements slowly starting to creep in, which I will never complain about. Always better to get more practice and try and improve. But yeah, we will cut back onto the visor cam once again, still on this session. Through this section here, in the first session I did with Josh, with the driver coach, I actually asked him if that section is flat. He said in the dry it is, in the wet definitely don't try it, it's not flat in the wet. So I definitely wasn't going to be trying it today, but obviously on the scholarship day when it was dry, I did actually end up trying it, and it worked, so I will take that. You'll definitely notice the massive amount of grip there is on the first day, the scholarship day, when it was dry, compared to the Wednesday when I was just practicing the wet. So yeah, nevertheless, so we carried on, managed to actually get used to that chicane in the wet, obviously not sending it as much as I was, which I can't complain about whatsoever. And also Bishop's here, this corner I really struggle with. Obviously I spun with the driver coach, as you can see, much more smoother, much more better, so can't complain about that one at all either. Yeah, this corner as well, I kind of struggled a little bit with this one. I think it was called Ushers, but nevertheless I still managed to take it very nicely, still took a somewhat racing line. So yeah, I can't complain whatsoever, as we are going to head back into the pits then for our final session of the day on record on the Wednesday. But now I guess we will just get ready to go out again, obviously off camera this time. But next time I will see you guys is on the scholarship day, where we'll be getting assessed to see if we could be the winner of a fully funded C1 scholarship. So here we go for our first session then in the scholarship day. This one is with Josh. As you can see here, we were just getting excited with the camera guy in front of us. So yeah, obviously I got to try and stay consistent, stay, well, pretty good pace, and basically just try and show that I am pretty decent with endurance racing. But nevertheless, so the light goes green here once again at Blyton Park, and we head out on track for the scholarship day. Obviously, as you can see, it is a lot more drier. I don't think we'll need the windshield wipers today. And as you can see as well, it's a lot more grip. As you see, I'm taking it a lot more faster than what I was yesterday. So yeah, just coming down towards the first corner then, once again. Take it very nice, as you see, really improved throughout the day yesterday with that final corner, and showing that I wasn't running as much curb as what I was yesterday. And especially through turn 2 as well, here through here, it really shows that there's a lot more grip and you can really run it a lot more better and get a much more better exit as we head onto the back straight. Once again, we're coming through the final corner and coming down towards turn 1 once again. As you see, we're actually catching the other C1 just ahead of us there, so it showed that we did have some pretty decent pace, which I was pretty happy with. Obviously we just got to be consistent as well though, which I thought was pretty decent and pretty consistent, but maybe it could have been a little bit better. But nevertheless, so as you can see here, coming through the fast chicane section onto the back straight, we see that the other C1 indicates left but doesn't actually back off. So we don't actually understand what's going on here. I try and full throttle it anyway. As you see, he does back off eventually, and we get past him just before the chicane section. So I'll take that any day of the week. But nevertheless, so we just got to keep pushing on, try and keep pace. After that little panic of a moment, because I wasn't too sure if I could get past him before the chicane, and we are meant to overtake on the straights, not on the corners. So yeah, nevertheless, so we managed to get back on pace quickly. As you see here, Josh was telling me to brake a lot later and a lot less for that Bishop's corner, and it definitely worked there, as you can see, because there's a lot more grip today than what there was yesterday. I think yesterday was definitely a good learning experience, but I think it kind of messed me up a little bit because I was so used to driving in slippery and wet conditions compared to these dry conditions. As I was finding when I was listening to Josh telling me to brake a lot later and a lot more harsher, it was actually working a lot more better in the dry conditions. But nevertheless, yesterday was still great practice, and obviously if I do end up getting the scholarship and do end up racing, I will be able to, you know, be used to the wet a little bit more than what I would have been just doing this day. As you see there, just running the outside curb a little bit more than what I was meant to, so I really need to watch out for that. But nevertheless, we will get a trackside camera view from this final corner and turn 1 section thanks to Peter. This was from a different lap, not a replay. As you see, that was perfect. That's what I want to do every lap. Sadly, I didn't quite get it every lap, which is a bit of a shame, but nevertheless, so I was still pushing on, still trying to basically do what I could with this car. Obviously, I'm used to karting, and in cars you need to be really smooth and drive a lot more differently. So yeah, it was a little bit of a learning curve for me and a little bit difficult for me compared to other people who had a lot more car racing experience on this day compared to me. But I was still trying, I was still doing what I could, and I was still trying to take in as much information as I could from the driver coaches, Josh and Ashley. But yeah, really showing that I had pretty decent pace, and I definitely think I wasn't the slowest there, so I couldn't complain too much. And I guess even if a scholarship doesn't work out, what an experience this was, and what a day of learning and trying to find out more about racing cars and karts like I'm used to. So yeah, nevertheless, so we carry on though, and as you can see, taking this one a bit of a different line here. I found that line could have been a little bit better, to be honest, but as you can see now, we are heading back into the pits because that is our session with Josh over. Hopefully it'll be alright, and we would have had a pretty decent session, but now we will let him talk and see what I did right and what I did wrong.
Anything I can improve on? Anything I can improve on? Yeah, we just need to kind of egg the brakes on a bit more, that's all. Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
So here we go for the final session then. This time we will be in the car with Ashley, who will be assessing my driving. Hopefully it won't be my final time in a C1 car or a race car at all. Hopefully I'll be able to get the scholarship, or hopefully be able to, if not get the scholarship, at least be able to race a car again. But nevertheless, so we head out on track then for the final session. Hopefully we can try and keep it together for this session and manage to impress again. But nevertheless, so we cut back onto the visor cam where it's steamed up once again. It will unsteam pretty quickly, so just for now though, it will be quite steamy and foggy. I will cut in a minute to where it clears up a bit more. So let's try and make this final session a good one then, as now the visor cam has cleared up a bit and we push on once again. Taking that final corner very nicely there. I've really started to nail that final corner. This one I was still a little bit iffy about. I was doing a lot better in this session than what I did in the last session on that final corner. I found the bigger wheel actually I preferred than the little wheel. I don't know why, but the C1s had two different wheels in. The session I was in last time had quite a bit of a smaller wheel, and this one was quite a bit of a bigger one, and I quite prefer the bigger wheel, to be fair. But nevertheless, so we're pushing on and seeing what we can do, see what pace we can do, and see if there was anywhere we can improve from when Ashley tried to speak up. So yeah, head down the back straight once again towards the chicane section. We were trying to practice braking a lot later for this chicane, as Josh said that I need to brake a little bit later for that chicane really, and that was the only point that I needed to improve on, so I can't complain about that at all, and I could work on that. As you can see, coming through Bishops, Ashley was trying to tell me to push it a little bit more, so I was trying to give it a bit more, you know, acceleration out of Bishops and a lot less braking. It's quite difficult though, obviously first time being in a car, and especially a car that's not yours. It's quite difficult to try and take those corners as fast as that, especially when you don't think it's going to stick, but it actually does. But nevertheless, I guess I could try and improve on that for next time. But we are going to keep going with this session, see if we can try and get as much advice from Ashley as we can. Coming through the final corner once again then, trying to put Josh's advice he gave me from last session to good use really. And see if Ashley agrees, and see if we can try and, you know, merge the advice together and try and walk away from this week with being an all-round better driver altogether. So yeah, we push on nevertheless so through the chicane once again, really taking it a lot more aggressively for that chicane section, so I definitely was improving there. And now we will cut on to again where we go towards the final corner. Ashley's trying to tell me to brake a little bit later, so I did brake a little bit later, and it seemed to work very nicely. I was really getting that final corner nicely and hooking it up nicely. But nevertheless, we pushed on then. As you can see, the other C1 was just ahead of us. I was trying to keep up with him because he was a lot more quicker than me and had a lot more racing cars experience than me, so I was just trying to see if I could learn anything from him as well. As his lines were superb and I could see what he was doing compared to me, and I was trying to adapt to that, and I feel like I got a lot more better out of that. I only followed him for about a lap, so it wasn't anything major, but I did actually learn quite a bit more from him. As you see, Ashley was telling me to go over the white line here, which I didn't think I was allowed to do, but apparently we were, so I was going for it, and that's what I used for the rest of the session. As you see, I was really hooking it up better for that time after I used as much of the track as possible. I know it went over the white line, so yeah, I didn't know if that would be track limits or not though, but I asked Ashley about it and she said it was fine, so I couldn't complain too much. Another thing that I've learned throughout this week, so that's what I'll be doing from now on in car racing, and if I have to go back to karts, then karting as well. But yeah, I definitely think throughout this experience I became an all-round better driver. Like I said, trying to get as much advice from Josh and Ashley as possible, and from the whole team. And honestly, massive thank you to BPC Tune-ins for running this event and giving me the opportunity to try and go for the scholarship. But nevertheless so, we head back into the pits, and now we'll try and see what Ashley says and see where we can improve.
Thank you. Is there any points where you think I can improve on?
I think, to be honest with you, I'm very impressed.
Oh,
So
thank
you've
you.
only done karting.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah.
very impressive.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you, Ashley. How's that?
So sadly boys, this is the end of the video, and sadly I did not get the scholarship. This is actually a couple days later, so I got the news I didn't quite get it sadly. I'm not going to stop pushing. I'm going to still see if I can manage to secure racing in cars, or at least try and carry on with karting, one of the two. I'm going to come up with some plans, see what I can do. But for now, I'll leave this video here. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe. But thank you for watching, and goodbye.